Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Tuesday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the Challenger Racing League. It is Season 1, race number 5, and we get to try out some more Super Speedway style racing as we are racing on the current configuration of Atlanta here this evening for this 5th race. Crazy to think we are coming close to the end of the regular season. We've got tonight, Watkins Glen, and then Bristol before we head ourselves into some playoff racing action, which is going to be a blast to watch. But first, we've got to get through tonight's amazing race here this evening at Atlanta. Thank you again for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer, newcomer up to the booth for tonight, giving his debut on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the commentating role. We've got Danny Cochran with us. Danny, a very well-known driver. We've seen him win championships. We've seen him win plenty of races, and tonight we get to see what he's got being in the booth with me. Danny, thanks for joining with us. Thanks for filling in. How are you feeling coming into tonight?
Yeah, man, it's a blast to be here, really looking forward to this race. I've been watching these guys in practice, and I haven't seen a dull moment yet with these guys turning laps out here, so I'm really looking forward to this race, and I can't wait to see how it goes tonight.
Can't wait for it either, as the drivers are just finishing up practice this evening. They got 30 seconds before we are done, and testing out their skills and the limits on this course. It's going to be pack racing all around, 2 wide, potentially 3 wide for 125 laps. We'll see if the drivers can keep it underneath here this evening, because we've seen moments in the past at Atlanta with this next-gen car. It can be a handful, but Danny, Super Speedway style racing, we always talk about how qualifying not too important, but Atlanta, I would say there's a little bit of a twist. Qualifying could be very important here tonight.
Yeah, for sure, Sam. I think it's very possible we see some tire wear play a factor here, especially with the lighter fuel load that these cars are under. I think it's a very realistic possibility that handling is going to play a role, and these guys are really going to have to watch their step later on into these runs.
As drivers are just finishing up practice, we are officially moving into qualifying. We have 2 laps to put down your fastest lap time, but only 5 minutes to do so. Can get your lap invalidated by hitting the wall, going into the grass, going a little bit too far, down low. So drivers got to be careful of all those little nicks here and there that you got to be careful of. But finding the speed is going to be the true factor for this evening, as we see some of our drivers getting already out on track. We'll see what speed they can truly find this evening. Gotta say, Danny, this is exciting to be seeing these drivers race at this track. They had exciting racing just a few weeks ago at Daytona. And a quick swing, as this league follows the real NASCAR schedule, as they follow the race that happened to the previous Sunday of the week. And so here at Atlanta, they are getting a little bit of double dosage of that Super Speedway package. Certainly going to take some time to get used to how everyone's tendencies are going to be, but excited for this racing as we see the number 5 going to be out there on track. That's Matt Hayden that we watch currently on course.
Yeah, really, I was looking through their schedule, and much like, as you said, they follow the real schedule of the NASCAR Cup Series. So much diversity in it, It's really going to test these drivers and how they can, adapt to different driving circumstances, whether it's 1.5 or whether a traditional 1.5, like, your Texas or your Kansas. Rather, here with Atlanta, it's just completely a different skill set, more akin to that of like Talladega or Daytona. But turn around going somewhere like Watkins Glen, I think it's really going to put these guys to the test heading into their playoffs.
It certainly will, as they will also have Bristol before the playoffs are around. But on track, currently first lap's being put in. It's going to be John Velocity who's going to be the first driver with the fast lap, as others try to see if they can sneak their way on top of the board, as Matt Hayden will be the driver that's able to do so with a 31.475 lap time. As other drivers try to find that good speed, it's going to be James Catrone, who was one of our fastest contenders and really was a favorite during Daytona. He's now going to be top of the board, as drivers are going to be bouncing up and down throughout this field. Certainly going to be something that we keep our eyes on, who can find that sneaky little bit of speed. As we see on screen, your Daytona winner, it's going to be Hunter Carlson that you see on screen now.
Yeah, it's we're certainly shaping up for an interesting race here. I'm not seeing like a big difference in their qualifying lap time, so I think that really speaks a lot to how close of a race we're going to see tonight. Obviously, with the draft, it tends to stay a little bit closer, but just a competitive field, and that's what you want to see going into a plate race like this. Is just drivers under a blanket. I think it'll be a good show for sure.
It certainly can be. You're one of the main drivers to watch out for. 12th in points entering tonight. It's the 40 machine. It's going to be Barmanier. Gregory has been trying to find himself in some decent finishes, but it seems like every time he runs well, gets caught up in trouble here tonight, trying to get a good qualifying run. His first lap going to place him 9th on the board, a 31.778. It's going to be about 0.3 slower than our pole sitter time as he tries to stay low, close to that red line to maximize the speed. But kind of shockingly to see Atlanta, you're going to be hitting some wicked high speeds, getting close to 200 miles per hour. But when you're by yourself, we saw it there for a quick moment, just 175 miles per hour by yourself. It is quite a difference of pace that we're going to see these drivers jump up to. And speaking of jumping up, Barmanier up, going to one position to 8th place for himself. Rusty Modesty, who was hoping to grab a victory last week, this is going to be one of the last drivers, it looks like, qualifying here tonight. So here we go, Danny. It's the last driver to qualify as Modesty's on his first time to lap.
Yeah, I really like the line he's riding down the backstretch, just keeping it nice and low. A lot of people, you'd think that you want to track out all the way to the wall, but where you're not carrying a ton of speed off that corner, it's better to keep it down low and just try and keep it, as close of a circuit as you can around that track. And that's one thing, another dimension to this. You get into a more plate-style track, you see that kind of a different art to the qualifying, I guess you could say, than what you see at a normal 1.5.
Saw there through the apex of the corner, Rusty going below the red line, and that really threw off where he was hoping to find that maximum amount of speed, and he will already default and quit on his second lap. That will finish up qualifying, and it's James Catrone going to be taking the pole time here this evening, as Catrone will be the 3rd different pole sitter of the season. We saw Rusty Modesty grab the pole last week. The first 3 weeks was dominated by Christian Strader, and now we finally get our 3rd different pole sitter of the season. As qualifying's come to a conclusion, we're about to be heading into tonight's race. Atlanta, 125 laps. Stage break at the end of lap 45. 1 fast repair. 3 extra sets of tires in pit road, and just 60% fuel load. We saw how the fuel load really changed up last week at Darlington. Multiple pit stops without taking tires, and we'll see if tonight might turn into a similar situation. As the field gets ready, here's going to be your starting grid for tonight's race. Top of the board, going to be the 38 machine of James Catrone. Second place will be the 73 of Justin Malarkey. Matt Hayden falling down to 3rd place for the 5 machine. Andrew Little up to 4th for the 68, trying to go back-to-back after his win last week. Hunter Carlson wants to get back to victory lane for the 3rd time this season. He'll start 5th, and 6th will be the 10 machine of Roland Collette. We fall down to 7th, where we find that of Brandon Bouchamp in the 15 machine. Gregory Barmanier in the 40 will be starting in 8th place. 9th is Steve Potter, and finishing our top 10 is the 6th of Rusty Modesty. The last few drivers going to be in 11th place of John Velocity in the 84. Christian Trotter going to be starting in 12th position for the 29. It's the 13th, we find the 17 of Kevin Z. Then it's going to be Michael Martino in 14th position, and Jesse Nowlin going to be our 15th driver here on the grid. Now, a couple of drivers have been having some issues trying to connect. We'll see if all the drivers can connect through, but it looks like Christian Schrader has been the driver that's been having some major issues for the 29. And right now, Danny, it looks like we could be just having 14 drivers take the grid, so it's a much smaller field, which kind of helps on the fact that you know where the leaders are going to be, but this could be a changing factor of how you might plan out the rest of this race, especially with that stage so close on lap 45.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of eliminates the age-old strategy at a plate track that we often see, where you want to just kind of hang toward the back and let the guys up front take each other out. But, with 14 cars on track, you are the front. There's no getting away from the chaos and just trying to ride. So, looking at this from an outsider's perspective, I don't really see a reason to try and hang back here, just because it would be so easy to lose the pack, and, then you're just in no man's land, and nobody wants to be in no man's land at a plate track. Otherwise, you're going to go a lap down, and it just kind of ruins your entire race. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how we keep these 14 cars, I would imagine, under a blanket here and see who can come out on top of it.
Few drivers that are really hoping for just a solid day to find their footing this late into the regular season. Jesse Allen, Michael Martino, and also I would say Gregory Barmanier and Brandon Bouchamp. Those 4 drivers really been struggling to find a good finish at these most recent races we've been to here tonight, with it being a super speedway style racetrack. This is where they can find that right footing. But up front, the main drivers of focus, your top 4, they were the 4 drivers that really put down the most speed when we were racing at Daytona a few weeks ago. It's going to be James Catrone, Justin Malarkey, Matt Hayden, and Andrew Little, all hoping for maybe a little bit of redemption if possible, as black flag penalties really hurt that grouping when they were at Daytona. Here tonight, they're hoping to maybe find their luck, be turned around. I want to say thank you once again for everyone that's joining with us in the chat. Type down below, who are you rooting for this evening? I know we're just rooting for a good race overall. It's going to be James Catrone, Justin Malarkey into the restart zone as we are green here tonight at Atlanta. Good launch on the inside row. Malarkey not really able to take off, but just like that, Danny, we are green heading it down into turn number 1.
Down in turn number 1, we see the 38 car leading them as they kind of single file out for the first several there. Looks like the first 8 or 9 kind of get single file. We'll see how things kind of shape out going down the back straightaway with the, looks like the outside getting a run there.
Trying to get the run, and the outside lane is where the most dominant speed's going to be, but everyone dropping low immediately here tonight. Kind of shocking. You would think they would stay side by side. That's what you traditionally see, but it's already a train, and it's James Catrone leading the charge up front for the 38 as he leads lap number 1.
Back down through turns 1 and 2, we do see the 38 still leading that single file train along the inside there. We do have a couple takers up top. Be interested to see what they do if we can kind of get the outside formed up as the second car in line. We have the number 5. He's looking to try and take that lead away going through turns 3 and 4.
Matt Hayden wanting to already bounce his way to the front group. Doesn't want to just stay patient and willing to follow in suit. Going to be Andrew Little following just behind for the 68. As now we're going to have 2 drivers trying their best to work the outside group. But James Catrone not getting as much help as he would like from Hunter Carlson on the inside row. And here we go. This is what we were waiting for. It's 2 by 2, and it's the outside lane moving right now.
Yeah, the outside lane just formed up so much better than the inside. They've got a car clear up there, while the inside's just struggling to get nose to tail as we kind of see the same thing start to happen on the outside here. Both of these lines just struggling to get formed up. I think that you'll see the inside pull them back here, though. Looks like they've got the momentum right now as they head down into turn 1.
Driver that really looked extremely strong Daytona 2 weeks ago. That was Kevin Z, 3rd driver on the outside. In the last couple of weeks, he's been running a pure red machine. Here tonight, got a little bit more flair on the 17 and gonna be hoping to stay out on track. He was a threat until he decided to pull off the track after the stage break and call it an evening early. Kevin hoping to keep his nose connected with Andrew Little, but Little drops low for a quick moment. And that front stretch, Danny, it's so unique to so many other tracks that we go to. The mile and a half is kind of traditional with the quad oval, but when it's pack racing like this, that front stretch can really get narrow with a big surprise.
Yeah, it definitely changes the dynamic because not only do you have to navigate the single corner of the tri-oval, but here in this quad oval, you actually have to navigate too, and it certainly feels like it actually gets wider, but it certainly feels like it narrows up a lot when you're trying to take cars 2, 3, sometimes even 4 wide through there, while trying to keep it in the racing line above the red line, separating the apron there. But it certainly adds another element to it.
Certainly does, as drivers staying low. That's going to be Bouchamp with the 15, getting close to the outside wall, but let's get right along with one of these drivers on the inside. It's Justin Malarkey, one of our colleagues here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. He'll be on the call tomorrow night for the WSSR Cup Series, as they're going to be having the cutoff round. Who's moving on to the Championship 6? It's going to be the question tomorrow night at Richmond. Don't want to miss it, but Malarkey, he would love to get a cheer and a smile on his face before the night's over. It's still hunting for his first win, but Justin Malarkey's been inside of the top 3, it feels like almost every week, just secretly there. But the 15 on the outside, a huge run for Bouchamp as he's sticking to the tail end of this group. And Danny, when you're one of these drivers on the outside, tail end group like Bouchamp is, it's got to be frustrating knowing you've got so much speed, but you really can't go anywhere with it.
Yeah, it's to me, it feels like a waste of time to be up there. You know, me personally, I'd much rather be where Malarkey's at right now, just hanging out on the inside. You're not right up on somebody, you know, and the way it tends to happen, at least with these plate tracks this way, or tracks that races the plate track does, the issues tend to happen in the first couple of rows. Being where Malarkey's at, you have a chance to react. You know, if you're in the 15, you're up on the top, you're kind of just forced to pile into it, whereas on the bottom you have options. So I really don't like to be where the 15 is. Me personally, I'd much rather be riding on the bottom here.
As the front pack still continues to see side by side up front. We have had one driver join in late that we didn't call immediately. That was Rusty Modesty, who had to start on pit road trying to assist Data Shrouder, but was not able to get into the server. The 6 started on pit road, currently 18 seconds off of the leader, and could be in danger of going a lap down before the stage is over at the end of lap 45. But as these drivers continue to race on, seeing the 15 about champ, he's making me nervous. He continues to search for a way to help this outside lane, but he is wiggling quite a bit as he's trying to line up and help this front pack go, as everyone else in line, the back half of the field there, recognizing, hey, let's get some space, and that's from Malarkey on back.
Yeah, the 15 of Bowchamp. See, I don't mind what he's doing, but it really worries me for his tires later on in the run. You know, just weaving up and down, trying different lines. It's good to potentially make something happen in the short term as you see him getting a run kind of on that 38, pulling back up to his bumper. But it worries me for later on because, again, Atlanta, you can see that factor of handling. You can see, you know, the tires start to go away. So it worries me for his sake.
Certainly does. Danny, I know we cover you a lot on Monday nights and Wednesday nights, both in the ISRC Truck Series on Mondays and the WSSR Cup Series on Wednesday nights. And I know a lot more we've seen you win in the trucks, but you've ran a lot more on this track in the trucks. What is it like trying to get up front on a track that seems like there is no way to really make some big passes or moves when everyone looks pretty stalled out like they are now?
Yeah, you know, you compare this to, take Talladega, for instance. Not only is it, you know, faster and the truck is, or car, whichever you're driving, is more sealed off to the ground and just able to carry higher speeds and do more with it. But another thing, you have like 2 more lanes to work with. You have several more feet of track width that you can move around and try and make something happen. Whereas here, you're getting risky if you even try to go 3 wide. So it certainly makes it harder to climb that ladder. I found what you just kind of have to do is find a lane and just kind of stick with it, and hopefully you go forward. I know a lot of times you can gain some momentum and gain some position off that outside line, but yeah, it can be very difficult to gain ground here at the new Atlanta.
See, that's 17. Kevin Zabladil going to be trying to find their way to go forward, but it just keeps on dispersing as the grouping of who's going to be on the outside fades away. Still leading this race, you know, Matt Hayden, Andrew Little, James Catrone, as Kevin Z drops down low. Bowchamp willing to follow that 17 down low as they're going to be trying to make that inside road take off. But this has been the trouble that I've seen in plenty of other leagues as well. It is tough. Once you see the outside lane, a strong pack of drivers working as one on the outside groove, it's hard to make this inside lane have any momentum, even if you're giving some big pushes, as Bowchamp of the 15 gets a little bit close to moving up into the 84 of velocity, as Bowchamp, Kevin Z trying to utilize a little bit of side drafting through the corner.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me a lot of the Xfinity racing that we've seen on Saturday in the real race. It's just so hard to build momentum, and you have to have so many guys that it's just nearly impossible to beat the faster cars on the top line, you know. I do appreciate Kevin Z and Brandon Bowchamp for trying to make something happen on that bottom line, but it is just darn near impossible with the side draft and just the pull that the cars on the outside get down these straightaways.
Giving chances for other drivers to have some time up front, as well, now leading up front is still going to be Matt Hayden, but on the tail end of that outside group, starting to see in new colors the 28 of Jesse Nowlin, and now trying to get their way forward following that black and green of John Velocity. Malarkey now will move high, and a couple of other drivers trying to seal up that outside lane, not allowing everyone that's on the inside row to move up and find an opening. Kind of defensive moves in ways, but as this run progresses, you touched on it, Danny, tire wear will become a factor here very shortly, and that's kind of the worry with some of this side drafting I'm already seeing.
Yeah, it's the tires aren't going to like all the moving around in the corners. I can promise you that. We went literally almost flagged the flag in our WSSR race here at the start of the season, and handling played such a bigger role than I expected it to. Take the next gen cars compared to the trucks, which I'm more used to driving, and there you're pretty much like Daytona. You know, you're just sealed off. You're in your lane. You can go anywhere you want to. You can make whatever kind of move you want to. But with the Cup cars, there's an aspect of handling that none of the other cars on this service seem to have. And that's with, you know, as the run goes on, the car tends to get really tight. I didn't have a problem with it building loose, but when a car builds tight that way, it just kills your momentum if you're trying to enter below somebody in one of these corners.
Well, here comes the big difference of a pack versus a driver that's on their own. That's going to be Rusty Modesty in the 6, staying low. We'll see if Rusty's going to try to tag along with this group. Is the inside row going to stick with the 6, or are they going to try to pass them? And it looks like they want to pass the 6. They don't want to work with them. They'll force it 3 wide for a quick moment, but it looks like Velocity just stuck in a limbo. He wanted to follow but make a pass at the same time, and it just killed all the momentum on the inside row. But Rusty Modesty is now attached to this pack as he'll try to tackle and go forward, but all that jostling is going to hurt these 2 drivers. It's Bouchamp as well as Martino. They're stuck side drafting one another, and they're in trouble of losing the draft if they can't get the squabble back in line as quickly as possible.
As a driver, that's just the most frustrating thing, is you're on the end of a train, you're at the end of a draft, and you get side by side with somebody, and you just see that pack take off from you. I mean, you wouldn't believe it just watching at home, but when you're driving one of these cars, it just has such an effect that you just couldn't imagine. I mean, if you're just side by side for a moment, it can completely stall out your run, and you can just watch the entire pack walk away from you.
And drivers that were saving their tires compared to those that are maybe pushing. We're starting to see some more movement up front as Matt Hayden still leads the charge. He's getting help from Andrew Little, but it's everyone third on back that's jostling, and it's currently watching the 32 of Matt Carlson. He is the driver that, Hunter Carlson, excuse me, who's making the charge on the inside, looking for some type of help from other drivers. He's got Kevin Z on his back bumper, but it has been a moment of trying to get by Rusty Modesty. It's given openings for these drivers at this time as we are halfway through this first stage. Again, stage break at the end of lap 45, and Danny 22 laps in. The field seems pretty stable up front, and they've given some worry at moments, but overall, I gotta say, this field's done a great job of keeping it calm and collective for at least the first half of this first stage.
Yeah, everybody seems to be racing really smart right now, and I think that's the approach you have to have in a race such as Atlanta, you know, or any other track where you have the potential for big crashes. Is 20 laps into this race, I don't want to put my car in a jeopardizing position or anything that's going to potentially cost me having to use that fast repair much earlier than I'd like to, or anything that can cost me later on, you know, such as a moment ago when they stalled out that run on the inside. They could have went 3, but they didn't. I think that's the smart play to make right now. I mean, there's no reason to jeopardize, you know, wrecking a bunch of race cars at this point in the run.
Early, Brandon Bouchamp and Michael Martino both have lost the lead pack fully, and Brandon Bouchamp has actually disappeared for a quick moment, hoping he's going to reconnect, and he does, luckily, but that kills even more momentum for Martino, which they are going to be hoping for a caution to be coming out, or at least stay on the lead lap until the stage break, if possible, as now this grouping up front, it is a group of going to be 12 drivers. Rusty Modesty being at the tail end of this group, having help from Velocity to keep the 6 attached. But now side by side, Carlson, Hayden, who will take the lead, and it's still the outside row looking strong at this moment as they continue to race this thing out. But there's that movement center of the corner where everyone in the field moves up about a half a groove that we always get worried at Atlanta when those small jostles. It's always interesting, Danny, when you look at when everyone moves up in unison, how it's not just one driver who breaks tight. It's the whole pack breaks tight at one moment.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the effect of following the guy in front of you off a cliff. I know you can have the same thing happen, like when you're coming out of a corner and one car will get really close to the wall and the car behind that one will actually end up hitting it. I think it's a similar concept, but something that's really interesting to me right now is the inside's making the best strides we've seen so far tonight. I don't know if they've got a little bit more help or they're just a little bit more organized, that being the 32 of Hunter Carlson and the 17 of Kevin Zabladil, but they are making great strides toward potentially overtaking that first spot from Matt Hayden right now.
And unfortunately, we have lost officially 2 drivers. Christian Schrader has officially given up on trying to get into the session, as it looks like Brandon Bouchamp has disconnected due to packet loss. So 13 drivers out on track. One being 1 lap down, being Rusty Modesty, who's attached to this lead group, and Michael Martino going to be all on his lonesome. And with the amount of laps that are left in this stage, we could have a fight on who's going to get that lucky dog spot between Martino and Modesty. If, again, Martino goes a lap down, as Matt Hayden continues to stay up front. 28 laps in. Andrew Little, Patrone, but Justin Malarkey, that quartet continues to stay up high and not going to be giving any space for anyone else to get in their way. But Danny, I'm curious on your thoughts, and maybe we can hop on board with Andrew Little. Being the driver that's pushing the leader, what type of feeling is it like trying to be that driver who's trying to rule the field to go forward as quickly as possible?
It's to me, it's a matter of trying to toe that line of getting the most you can for you, your lane, and the guy you're pushing without wrecking the field. There's a very fine line there, and many drivers that are better at it than I am. Zach Hall is actually, he does much more races with you guys than I do, but he's fantastic at pushing. That's one strength that he has that I'd love to learn from him, is just how he can lead a line by being the second car there. It's kind of like a Pied Piper effect that he can kind of carry, but being that second car, man, it's so tricky to try and get everything you can but not turn the leader, especially as we see him go through this quad oval. They're not under great pressure from that inside lane right now, but if you're side by side, you want to get all you can and carry as much momentum as possible down that straightaway. But where you have 2 corners in that straightaway back to back, it can be very hard to get all you can out of it.
It certainly can. Andrew Little, you see, just giving a huge push to the 5 and getting Hayden as far up as you can. And as we were right on board with Andrew Little, I'm getting that little bit of debrief. More troubles happen in this lead pack. It looks like a little bit of connection issues, blinking for Jesse Nowlin. Kind of spooked Rusty Modesty and John Velocity. Both drivers have now lost the lead pack on the draft. So this grouping is now down to 11 drivers. Going to be part of this group, 10 drivers that are in this lead pack as we continue to count down the laps before the stage is over. And based on the fact that it's the top 10 drivers get stage points, as long as this group doesn't wreck, everyone that's in this pack going to get some bonus points before the night's over.
That's a tall task, though, Sam. I mean, when you get all these cars under a blanket this way, tire wear playing a factor, your car's not handling as great as you'd like for it to, and you're looking at that stage win in front of you, it can be very hard to keep all 4 tires under you.
Trying their best, but the laps continue to tick down. Again, end of lap 45, and that will be the end of the stage. No one has completely wrecked out and had to use a fast repair for themselves yet, but Brandon Bouchamp again was disconnected due to packet loss yet to try to reconnect, as the inside row getting a little bit mixy there through the quad oval, weren't completely lined up, which gives a chance for Andrew Little now going to be putting the pressure to go on the outside. And Hayden drops low, lets the 68 drive on by, and now we get to see some new faces up front. Andrew Little back to where he was last week, leading, dominating, and wanting to do so once again, as Catrone trying to give a push to that 68, but more drivers on the inside row, and here we go, drag racing across the line. It's going to be Matt Hayden on the inside leading that lap, but this is kind of interesting to see that fade in difference of more drivers trusting the inside lane and wanting to continue to follow Hayden.
I tell you what, I was wondering, oh man, as he goes down on the apron, I was about to say, I was wondering if we'd see Matt Hayden make that move. I was wondering how long he'd follow in behind that 68 of Andrew Little, because being that second guy in line and having that lane below you and that option open to try and take that, I was wondering if he would. Thought it paid off for him, but it looks like it's actually played to his detriment, as he's not even in the lead pack now.
It dwindles down to now 9 drivers in this lead pack, as we have even tried a green flag pit stop that's truly going to kind of dissipate this group. And it looks like a few drivers trying to fall back and assist one another as drivers are starting to lose the draft. Jesse Nowlin looked like he was starting to fade away. He'll stay slightly attached, same for Barbinier, but those 2 drivers need to make sure they do not lose the draft, as they've got a lot of spacing in between themselves and the top 8. As right now it's Andrew Little trying to lead the charge, but Justin Malarkey now will try to carry and pull this inside row and see if he can now take the front pack and take the lead for the 73, but we continue to drag race down into turn number 3.
I think the inside, they have the cars, they have that advantage right now. They're linked up a little bit better, and they have the numbers for it. But beating the momentum of that outside line is going to be a tall task here coming into the closing of this stage.
Pit stop for some drivers, though. Service from Matt Hayden and John Velocity, both going to be pulling into pit road. And with the 60% fuel load, was it maybe a strategy call to just get some spacing so that when you made your pit stop, you weren't pressured around anyone else? And they got to go 45 laps. That is a long time. And with a 60% fuel load, as they'll go test 3, watch for a quick moment. As going to see Catrone fall back in line into that second on the inside, but I'm curious if maybe that might be the call of it's time to make some pit stops here shortly as Kevin Z putting the pressure side draft, and Andrew Little moves high. He'll drop to losing more ground, and Little looking uncomfortable. Same to a couple of other drivers. They're trying to get to the inside because pit road is calling. Multiple drivers over the radio saying they're pitting this lap.
Yeah, we see Little hitting pit road now, and multiple other guys getting off the racing surface heading down pit road, and some of them completely overshooting their pit entry.
Overshooting, making mistakes. We saw this problem at Daytona 2 weeks ago where a ton of drivers were caught speeding onto pit road, and once again it's 3 drivers, Kevin Z, Hunter Carlson, James Catrone, all caught speeding. They're gonna go a lap down, and Danny, with already drivers a lap down before this pit cycle started, we're gonna have multiple drivers a lap down when this stage is over.
Yeah, I mean, this is playing a big factor into how this race plays out. I mean, 3 drivers, that's actually a good little percentage of the lead pack here, and not to mention they were 3 pretty competitive drivers at that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out for the rest of this race. You know, we're not even at the halfway point yet. You do not want to throw your race away in the first half of the race that way.
Absolutely not. And some drivers taking tires. Gregory Barbanere in the 40 machine taking 4 tires and fuel for himself. I got to go recheck for Andrew Little's pit stop because the timing of how long he was in pit road, he could have taken 2 tires, and the 68 did take 2 tires. Little taking the grip advantage with this pit stop and fuel.
Really curious to see how that 2-tire call plays out. I mean, you get a ton of track position that way, but what worries me is how much is that track position going to matter if you have a group of, say, 6-7 cars barreling down on you, you know, saying 20 laps or less. I think you're going to see a big pace difference with that. Don't hate the call. It's early. You can try something, but I don't know if it's going to play to his advantage or not, Sam.
And also with how conservative we saw Andrew Little trying to get into pit road, he dropped off in the center of 3 and 4. All the drivers that were caught speeding dropped off the exit of turn 4. That's giving up multiple seconds of time on top of how much time he gave up with taking at least one side of tires. This 68 has a lot of ground. They're going to have to try to catch up to Roland Collette, Justin Malarkey. They lead this charge. Just 2 drivers with the lap slowly ticking away. And with the speed difference that we're going to get this lap, I don't think anyone's catching our top 2. This is Collette and Malarkey's race to the stage for them to just pull away and steal.
Yeah, they're looking really good right now. No reason to rock the boat. If I'm Malarkey, I stay in line. There's nothing really to race for here. Let's just bring a clean car to the stage and reset for the second half of this race, or second part of this race. But, you know, going back to Andrew Little, I don't hate the fact that he played it really safe on the pit road. You know, there's an old adage, better safe than sorry. And I would much rather see him give up some time and some stage points rather than see him end up in a spot like a few of these guys where you see them just blow their pit entry and end up, you know, 1 or more laps down.
As pit entry has been closed off by race control, that being James Wright. Thank you for being race control for this evening. We have gotten an update on what happened to Brandon Bouchamp as he got disconnected from the server with packet loss. It looks like his internet was lost for the night. That's why he was not able to reconnect. and also why he was kicked out of the server. You hate to see that for the 15 again, who was part of that core 4 I was talking about, needed a good run here this evening just to get good footing before the playoffs start in a few weeks. Instead, you'll have to watch the end of this race, but as the stage concludes, it's Roland Collette, Justin Malarkey. They're going to find themselves winning this stage up front and having an advantage over majority of the field because they didn't take a set of tires. Over half the field either took a full set or a half a set under that pit stall. So this grouping up front and a few others, they're gonna have a full tire set advantage for the rest of this race as we wait for the stage caution to be thrown. But it is Collette Malarkey winning the stage, and there's the yellow. This stage is over, and man, Danny, was it a interesting one. And once again for this league, it's pit road that makes the most entertainment.
Yeah, and that stage was nothing short of entertaining. From the drop of the green all the way to the pit road woes that we saw there. Roland Collette and Justin Malarkey having an advantage just shy of 6 seconds at the end of that stage. It was a show to say the least, Sam.
It certainly was. Well, for us, that is the end of the stage, and that will be our first little bit of the race for coverage. We're going to step away for a few moments, though, take our first commercial break of the night. You have been watching the Challenger Racing League here this evening. Race number 5 at Atlanta. It has been a special one. Your stage winner goes to Roland Collette. When we come back, we got more Atlanta Super Speedway Racing action to cover. We'll be back right after this.
They're 5 wide behind the pit. Oh my, the 5 wide here. This ain't gonna work. They make it last. Bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. That's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes. I know Carter gets wrecked. It's gonna be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity diving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes, Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck it.
Oh, they wrecked. They wrecked each other. The top two bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they got to be careful. Oh no, the 4 demolishes in the 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Tuesday night, giving you coverage of the Challenger Racing League at Atlanta for race number 5 of the season. We just finished up the stage where Roland Collette found himself stealing away the stage win with pit stop strategies, really changing up the dynamic of this race. But some drivers, they want to get antsy, they want to take off and go, and in the middle of this pack, we're going to be seen, I believe that's Hunter Carlson that's forcing it 3 wide in the middle of the group, but currently up front, we're seeing the battle between Andrew Little and Barbineer. Going to be challenging for that lead position. The outside lane's been strong at times. It's whoever can get the most drivers in line that's been the dominant lane to watch. But again, thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name's Sam Dyer. Joining me in the booth for his debut call on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we've got Danny Cochran with us, as well as running in the background, as always, is Robert Moyer Jr. And Danny, currently we're done with the stage. We're back to Green Flag Racing. This race, it certainly is aiming to be a fun one, as got a couple of drivers we're gonna have to figure out how to pit earlier than everyone else because they have to take the wave around.
Yeah, Sam, and I don't blame them for doing that one bit, but it's kind of it kind of puts them in a conundrum of, they have to have an early caution to be able to get back on the same strategy as everybody else. Otherwise, they could see themselves end up back in the position they were before, being 1 lap down after they have to pit and them being off cycle from our leaders.
And off cycle is not what you want to be on. Again, tonight's race, drivers were only given 3 sets of tires to work with. Some drivers had an extra set to work with. A few others really didn't. And most of the field taking 4 tires and fuel either under our last break or other time, as we're having a little bit of a blip there because the 40 machine of Barbineer disappearing for a quick second, kind of spooking everyone on the inside lane. But a few drivers taking a set of tires under this most recent caution with our stage ending, as well as a few others decided just to top off on fuel because they took tires under our green flag cycle pit stop. So that's going to be the interesting factor of majority of the field still have 2 sets of tires to work with from here on out, and when you want to take those sets is going to be the big question because we're expecting at least 2 more pit stops before the night's over here tonight. But Danny, looking at this group, having someone blink like we just saw, a factor that you don't see in real racing, but virtual side of things, it certainly is a terror that drivers don't usually think of when they think it's sim racing.
Oh, for sure, and we saw that firsthand on Monday. We seen the 12 get not only sideways up front, but he also started blinking when he got sideways up front. And then you're just in a game of roulette of where is this guy going to go and where is his car going to be, because I have to pick a lane and I don't know which one he's in because I can't see him. So yeah, it certainly adds an aspect to sim racing that you don't have in real life, and not a fun one at that.
Certainly is not, and I know for us on our side with some of the iRacing updates, we now actually see what the drivers see. Before, when drivers would be having issues, we'd call them blinking out, and they would just disappear. Now we actually get to see sometimes when the cars jump, when they fully disappear. It's been a fun thing seeing iRacing's updates that they've given us so far, as the front pack's starting to get more in line on the outside, as first driver leading on the inside crew is going to be Hunter Carlson. Outside, it is still Andrew Little leading the charge at this moment. Again, Little, one of those drivers that took a set of tires. He only took right sides when he went into pit road, and just topping off on fuel on his second pit stop. So the 68 deciding to go with an oddball strategy. He actually took the left side set, so he tried to equal out his tires with that last pit stop. So the 68, kind of on an oddball strategy, but at least up front, where he's feeling the most comfortable controlling the pack, is where he's at this moment.
Well, I tell you what, it's certainly an unorthodox strategy, to say the least, to put left sides on it. But, I mean, at least a moment ago, I was about to say he's leading, but we've since seen the inside kind of take over and get around him. As we see now, it looks like Kevin Z jumping up to the top, and we'll see, looks like the 32 of Hunter Carlson take over the point on the bottom. We're certainly looking a lot more racy now than we were in that last stage, Sam.
I think so, and I think it might be a little bit more of, okay, well, we didn't wreck during that first stage. We still have a fast repair in our back pocket. Let's get racy. And also, I think, to the fact of the drivers that are going to have to pit in the next 10 to 15 laps, they know it's go time. So some of those drivers to watch out for: Hunter Carlson, big factor. He's leading this race. He's going to have to pit in the next 15 laps. Also going to be watching out for Gregory Barbanier. He'll have to pit. You have Kevin Z, as well as going to be seeing drivers further on back of Rusty Modesty. All of those drivers will pit earlier than everyone else. Question is, when they pit early, would anyone else be willing to join them? Or do you want to test your fate of maybe I'll stick with some new drivers that I haven't really raced with here tonight that have kept their nose out of trouble from getting black flag penalties so far at super speedways?
Well, Sam, if I'm on track, I'm thinking about where will I have more numbers? You know, obviously it's more risky getting on pit road when you have 4, 5, 6 more cars with you, but it's so much easier to get up to speed and make pace when you have that bigger group of cars rather than just 3 or 4. That's just been my experience, you know, in the super speedway races that I've done, whether in the next gen or in the trucks, you know, there are strength in numbers. So I think that's definitely the strategy I'd want to follow. But we'll see how this shakes out with some of these different drivers here.
Again, joining me in the booth here tonight, filling in for Trevor Earhart, we got Danny Cochran, the Season 3 ISRC Truck Series champion, a multiple-time winner of that series. Happy to have him with us on board here tonight as they continue to race on. Hunter Carlson, Roland Collette, just dominating at this moment as they continue to push their way forward. We've only had 1 caution so far. That was our stage break yellow. Had a couple of scary moments during the stage, but really it was the green flag pit cycle that gave us the most terror. We've had drivers get caught with speeding into pit road, and I think, honestly, Danny, that's going to be another big factor that continues on throughout the night. With the fact that we might have to pit 2 more times before the night's over, each pit stop is such a risk with some of the drivers that already got a black flag.
Oh, 100%, you know, and that's something that you can't afford to have happen. I mean, you don't have the crutch of a stage yellow to at least say to yourself, okay, I can rebound from this because we're going to get a little bit of a reset. You don't have that to fall back on now. So let's say this does go green to the end. I mean, you really shoot yourself in the foot if you mess up that pit road entry or you speed or just anything that you don't do perfectly.
Only going to have 13 drivers out on track, 12 on the lead lap. We lost Brandon Bouchamp earlier in the race due to losing his internet, and then also other issues were happening for Christian Strader, who was not able to get out there on track. It looks like for Brandon Bouchamp, though, he's trying to get back out there on track as he just tried reconnecting into the server, but loses connection once again. You hate to see that for Bouchamp, but a factor that I think we rarely see. And Danny, one of the more updates, Atlanta currently right now, we are under the lights. We are seeing these drivers race here at Atlanta, which always for the longest time, it was kind of a shock to the fact that we never had the lights at Atlanta. We're seeing it here this evening with great weather as we're seeing it 74 Fahrenheit, temperature track temp 77, a little bit of wind that they're dealing with, and luckily the humidity is not up to 100%, so we can see these vehicles, but the humidity is quite high. But Danny, I want your thoughts on the fact that we're seeing Atlanta under the lights right now.
Yeah, so this is actually the first time I've ever seen that. I noticed it a little while ago. I was thinking, hey, the sun's gone down. That's pretty cool. I hadn't seen the air before. But these guys, you could say they're kind of like guinea pigs because at least I've not seen a race yet under the lights, and I'd say not very many people have driven under the lights here at Atlanta. You know, you go into different weather conditions such as day and night, you will see these cars handled differently. You know, it's something that doesn't get talked about as much, but it will affect those grip levels, and hopefully adds more grip for these guys, makes it a little bit easier to, you know, kind of run the lines you want to, but you're still going to be dealing with a slick track surface, and it adds an element here as we see, looks like the 10 of Roland Collette drop down to the apron here soon.
10 machine not feeling comfortable leading the charge anymore, but with how much was lost, Collette's going to lose the draft. All loss goes to the 10 machine, needing some help from drivers to back off, and it looks like everyone dropping low. And oh no, going around is going to be Jesse Nolan into the grass. We continue to stay green for now. Multiple drivers spin, and now caution flag is thrown by admins. And there's our first on-track incident of the day in the quad oval, where we knew an issue was going to strike at some moment. And for Jesse Nolan as well, for Steve Potter, they get trapped into one another again. And this caution looked a little awkward as they made contact through that quad oval, but looks to be maybe a little bit of neck code, but Jesse Nellen, I don't know where the 28 was going, dropping low as quickly as he was.
I tell you what, Sam, I want to know what Roland Collette, if he had some kind of intuition on what was about to happen. I mean, he drops off the track on the back stretch and they wreck on the front stretch. He knew something that we don't, as we see the 28 coming out of turn 4 here. I don't know if he thought he was clear of the 64 or that there was going to be more space between them, but they just get together in the 28. I mean, he just goes through the grass. You know, it's not a race-ending ordeal. Could have certainly been worse, but yeah, not sure exactly what would have happened on that one.
Yeah, that one was, I mean, there was net code involved in that wreck because of the way that the 28 reacted off the nose of the 64, but he was still diving down low so aggressively. Shocker to be seen, and with the timing of this yellow, it now puts the rest of the field in a reset button where everyone now gets to go into pit road, get some service done, and this timing of this yellow now turns the race into a one-stop from here on out. Now the drivers have that true question of, all right, it's a one-stop from here. How do we reset ourselves for the rest of this race? And when would be the best timing to hit pit road? One driver yet to hit pit road, though, is going to be the 32 of Hunter Carlson, staying out on track. The only driver not to pit, shockingly.
Yeah, I don't really understand that call. I'd certainly want to be on the same strategy as everybody else. Matter of fact, this kind of plays as a saving grace to those guys that we seen get those black flags earlier, because now they can reset and be on the same strategy as everybody else. You guys like James Catrone, who actually was a lap down, just got the lucky dog, but I don't understand that call by Hunter Carlson to stay out right there.
Yeah, we'll see if he's going to pull into pit road this go around, as well as this gives time for Michael Martino, who needed to get a little bit of repairs done on the 75. Catrone's going to get that lap back in. We'll be back to 13 drivers on the lead lap for this run. A few drivers could be taking tires for themselves. Kevin Z, as well as Justin Malarkey, Rusty Modesty, Matt Hayden, Roland Collette, Steve Potter, and John Velocity all going to get a set of tires for themselves, as Hunter Carlson, for some reason, faking out the field, and Carlson's going to be stuck out there. He's going to have to pit within 8 laps when we go back to green flag racing. This is looking like a nightmare for the 32.
Yeah, this is not the spot you want to be in. And he's probably, within the last lap or so, had that moment of realization. I've made my bed, and now I gotta stick to it. So it's certainly not a spot you want to be in. I've been caught in that before, you know, whether it's just not realizing pit road was open or just making a questionable strategy call, but I don't think this is the call you want to make here.
Now, I might be wrong on this call, but I'm pretty sure, Danny, when you pit after pit road is closed, you just get an EOL penalty. You get sent to the end of the line, or do you get a hold penalty if you pit after? I can't remember what the exact black penalty there is, but the 32 obviously terrified of whatever penalty he was going to be gifted if he had pitted with this one to go.
Well, Sam, from my understanding is if you pit before the pit lane opens, then it is an EOL. But if you pit after it closes, like within 2 to green or 1 to green, and you have not pit yet, then you do get a hold. I can't remember if it's like a 28-second hold, but there is a hold that you do get.
There is that fear of you don't want to, even if you have to pit. So there was going to have to be a force of pit after this restart for Hunter Carlson with that mistake. Maybe expecting more of the field to stay out. They don't. And now Carlson, in a very lonely feeling, the only driver that's going to be having to force to pit road within the next 8 to 10 laps. Will anyone else join the 32, or is it feast or famine for the rest? Here we go. We're back to green flag racing here at Atlanta as we start lap 34, and Carlson stays low. Andrew Little gets no help on the outside, but it might not be needed as the 68's trying to roll up to speed, but it's Kevin Z with a huge push to Carlson to push him forward.
Yeah, the outside did not have any help. We still see the 68 of Andrew Little still hung out there on his own, as now Kevin Z does jump up. He's looking to the outside of that 32 as they go into turn 3. We're starting to see that outside get formed up now, and this plays to the advantage of Andrew Little and Kevin Z as they look to clear the 32 on the front stretch.
Huge push, massive momentum, and this is going to be one of our first times to truly see Rusty Modesty now getting his name into a factor of racing inside of our top 5 as the 6 machine going to be on the outside. But not able to really get that run that the 6 was hoping for, with Kevin Z leading the charge. Hey, as long as you get a little bit of the link of that draft, you're moving forward, and that's what Rusty's feeling. A huge push for the 6 as you see him close in on that back bumper.
Yeah, one thing that doesn't get talked about enough just around the community is the closing rate that these next-gen cars have. I mean, you can close a 4, 5 tenth, 6 tenth gap within literally a matter of seconds just based off the draft alone, especially at your Atlantas, your Daytonas, your Talladegas. You know, you can pull up somebody's back bumper literally in a matter of seconds from a good length back. So we kind of seen that in play there with the 6 of Rusty Modesty as he's kind of settling into this 3rd position on the outside.
As Rusty continues to push forward, he's going to get a little bit of help from the 38 right behind him. And you're going to be seen on screen. Your top 3 confidently ahead, but watch out for the drivers behind that 6 machine. Where will going to be seeing James Catrone go? The 38 has been willing to be very aggressive at times. They have a chance to get to the lead. They're going to take it. And for James Catrone, will he duck down, or is he looking for another driver to maybe assist him? Because you got Barmanier, and also you got Steve Potter, 2 drivers that really doesn't seem like people trust as much to give them a push to push them get up to the lead position. It's actually your top 3, the most trusted drivers out there on track, unless you throw in the hat of John Velocity and Matt Hayden, who just linger back in 11th and 12th place. Those are my 2 watch out drivers for later on in this race if they can get a good stop if we continue to stay green.
Yeah, I like what they're doing. You know, there's no reason, especially as kind of compact as everything is right now, there's no reason to try and push any issues right now. We're going to have several more pit stops, or at least one or 2 more stops. And, you know, chances are we do see some kind of calamity toward the front. I don't blame them for wanting to stay back there and just kind of keep their cars clean for the time being. You know, I think there's a lot more that you risk losing than you do gaining trying to push the issue right now at this point in the race. But, I mean, you're going to see some guys do that, you know, and then it could be out of desperation and just wanting to get as many points as they can. You know, feel like you're in a limited time slot when you can make these moves. But, I mean, for the time being, everybody looks to be settled in as we leave the, looks like the 32 of Hunter Carlson just all by his lonesome on the bottom there.
Welcome to the conveyor belt, and you are going backwards, Hunter Carlson. Who will join him, though, to the inside? That's going to be Gregory Barbier, willing to go down to the inside to work with the 32, but immediately moves back up after seeing his hole almost close in. And that's, again, talk about the lonely feeling. Everyone else pitted under our last caution, except for Hunter Carlson, and now Carlson's aiming to pit road for the 32. As everyone else moves on by. And for Carlson, it's bank on a caution. Otherwise, your race is over already here, just on lap 81 of 125. As the racing continues on, the train stays single file. And for us, we're going to take another commercial break. I want to say thank you so much to everyone that's been joining with us in the chat. If you've got a favorite driver still out there on course, put in the chat. You're rooting for them. You hope for the best and see if they can get into victory lane. But for us here this evening, we will step away. You won't miss a thing as we go side by side with the Challenger Racing League here at Atlanta. We'll see you right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Challenger Racing League on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're under the lights here at Atlanta, and currently it's Gregory Barbier in the 40 machine leading the way, trying to hold back both lanes if possible, and we're kind of touching on it just a little bit under commercial break. Danny, I know this has been your first taste of broadcasting here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, and it's all right there. We go to commercial break, and we find ourselves with action.
Yeah, as we seen a block get thrown, and Kevin Zabladil just got put in the wall on the back straightaway there. We've gone from a single file train and some really good racing really fast here.
And they know it is go time. We're halfway through this stint before drivers will think about going to pit road, and squeezing the wall is going to be Barbier. Everyone else scattering around. More contacts going to be made deeper in the field, but we keep it straight. Everyone's still a part of the draft. They just don't like the fact that they got that contact. And even over the radio, Andrew Little confused on how they didn't bring out a caution and how everyone still stays alive up front.
I'm sitting here wondering the same thing. I seen we had one in the wall there sideways, and they somehow keep it straight, keep it going. But that just destroyed the momentum up front. And we've kind of singled out and we've spaced out a little bit amongst the top 10 or so here.
And sometimes you need a little bit of a calm down phase. Hey, let us know we're okay to chill out for a moment. And I think that little bit of a scare helped out the field to certainly just go into a little bit of a calm mode as you have 12 drivers in this lead group. If you're just joining us, Hunter Carlson had to pit by himself, did not come to pit road under a last caution, and currently one lap down. Everyone else still attached to the draft, but we're starting to see a little bit more momentum built up on the outside as Rusty Modesty, who was one of the drivers who missed the start of the race, went a lap down right when the stage started, and now the 6 leads the way after getting some cautions that assisted him get back onto the lead lap, back on sequence with the rest of the field. But hold on, getting a little bit tight off the exit of the corner, and drivers into the wall. It's Velocity, it's Little. They're scattering, and they continue to stay green, waiting for race control to throw the yellow. They don't. We continue to stay green up front, and now the yellow flag is thrown, and it's Velocity and Little who finally go around.
Yeah, we calmed down, if only for a moment. As soon as we got straightened out, we were right back in the thick of it, and we did see, we had a couple pay dearly for it on that one. The 86 of Little, the 68, Andrew Little looked like he got a piece of it, as well as, let's see, the 84 of John Velocity. Hard impact for both of those drivers there.
And here's how it all started. Kind of a chain reaction with seeing Modesty and also seeing Devin Z. They get mixy on the outside and just wasn't clear. Velocity moves up and pinches both drivers to the outside. As take another aerial view shot of this. And Danny, I mean, it's those quick bang bang moves that just can be so costly at a super speedway.
Yeah, and I tell you what really compounds onto that, Sam, is just, you know, we come off of 4, and this is like the worst part of the track for you to have this kind of impact. I mean, he goes to cover that off, makes contact. If this is the back stretch, it sucks, but it's okay. But here on the front straightaway, I mean, you're head on into that quad oval wall. I mean, that compounds, it makes the impact so much worse, and it really makes it that much more costly for the guys involved.
But once again, this field, they do have fast repair. So the race isn't over for either one of these drivers. And it looks like maybe one of them will have to use a fast repair here on this caution as drivers are entering pit road. Everyone going to get service done. And for Hunter Carlson, oh, that was the caution he needed. The 32 will get the lucky dog, get back onto the lead lap, and all 13 drivers will be finally able to race this thing out. And with the timing of this yellow, I mean, Danny, this is it. That is the final pit stop of the night. Everyone can make it from here to the end.
Well, I'm certain there's a lot of guys breathing a sigh of relief about that, but I'm not one of them, Sam. I really wanted to see some green flag stops and how that would affect the end of this race. Don't get me wrong, I'm really excited to see how the racing plays out from here just under green, but especially seeing how that first stage concluded, I was very interested to see how pit strategy would play a factor there coming into the closing laps.
I was just as excited as you were, but instead we'll have to wait and see if pitch strategy becomes a bigger factor next week for maybe some of these drivers, or maybe the week after, as next week going to be at Watkins Glen. But sadly for us here in Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we will be missing that race as we have to take that night off. But we'll be back in 2 weeks for Bristol. where we get to see the regular season finale. A few drivers you can see on screen, still in pit road getting service done, being Andrew Little, being also seeing the likes of Martino and also Carlson getting service done for themselves. Andrew Little, interesting note, did not take the fast repair. He is manually trying to repair that 68 machine, while John Velocity, on the other hand, did use the fast repair, joining the other drivers of Steve Potter, Gregor Barbernier, as well as our leader currently, Jesse Nowlin, taking using their fast repair currently here tonight. As race control deems that that was a racing incident, no EOL will be given to a driver. So where the drivers lay is where they will stay for this restart. Danny, we get to see some new drivers up front. Jesse Nowlin, who's been in the middle of the field, he will now be our control vehicle for this restart.
Yeah, and I think that always adds to the, for lack of a better word, just the electric feeling at the front of these packs in the closing laps. Is it's somebody you're not as familiar with, you haven't seen them up there, you don't know what they're going to do. It certainly adds another element and another dimension to the closing of these races, Sam. It's it's kind of a wild card, because you're like, okay, I don't know how aggressive this guy's going to be. I don't know what kind of moves he's willing to make, where he's willing to put his car. I mean, who knows what we see. The 28, he came across the track earlier and kind of took himself out in that front stretch incident several laps back. So we could really be in for a few surprises, a few treats here when we go back green.
We certainly could. Going to be less than 30 laps to go when we go green here. It's going to be Jesse Allen, Justin Malarkey, Kevin Z, with also the likes of Rusty Modesty, as the field gets ready to enter the restart zone here at Atlanta. Race number 5 of the season. Will we find ourselves with a new winner, or could someone else double down this evening? As it's going to be Jesse Nowlin as well as Malarkey. Good launch for the inside of Nowlin as Kevin Z gets right to that back bumper. But will the 17 stay there? No. Moves up, pressures Malarkey. Malarkey will dive low, as now it's a drag race off the exit of turn 2. Kevin Z trying to get by Nowlin, but the assistance helps the 28 on the backstretch.
Yeah, and at this point, you're just trying to make moves where you can find them. If I'm the 17, I do exactly what he done right there. There's no time to sit around and wait. We're within 30 to go. I mean, you've got to make the game-winning moves now. You got to make your moves that are going to put you in victory lane now. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing from him, as historically in this race, we have seen the outside lines dominant, and I'm trying to place myself to be the first car up there.
That first driver gonna be Kevin Z in the 17, as we're closing in on lap 100. If you want a sense of what it's like to be racing out here on track, we're gonna do a little bit of a crank it up as the drivers ramp up to speed. They're getting ready for these last couple of moves. They're side by side, and here we go. Crank up your TVs as they head out into turn number 1. And we are back for the Challenger Racing League. Hope you enjoyed that little bit of a crank it up segment as we are closing in to the final 20 laps of tonight's race. Just a few laps away, but it's Kevin Z leading the charge on the outside. Everyone else, this is that weird limbo stage where we saw before we went to our commercial break. just about 20 laps ago, where drivers were in line, and then after about 5-10 laps into a run, all just broke down to madness of everyone trying to go geeking high, low, and anywhere you could go. And right now, we're starting to enter that phase. My name's Sam Dyer. With me is Danny Cochran. And Danny, it looks like it's time to take off and go because the 5 is back into the mix, trying to deke it to the outside. Z blocks up, but now down low. Hayden wants the lead badly.
Yeah, we are leading for a log jam into 3 as we have the Haviline car loose on the apron, but we are side by side still at the front. That 5 car, we watched him make his way back up to the front of this field during that crank it up segment. And now into turn 1, we see him go off into that corner side by side for the lead.
Matt Hayden trying to grab his first win of the season, and it's been the Super Speedways where he's shown a lot of his strength, willing to push drivers back at Daytona. Here tonight, he's been waiting and looming in the background. He's shown a lot of speed in the first 20 laps of this race. Then pit road kind of changed everything up, fell to the back. But here tonight, it is go time. But the assistance that he has behind him, not as strong as I would say on the outside. You got Jesse Nowlin as well as Barmanier on the inside groove. Just 3 drivers. You would like to have at least 1 more, maybe 2 more, but it's more clumped up on the inside. This is what's allowing Hayden to continue the state of fight at this moment.
Well, I tell you what, I think 3 cars that are grouped close together is going to beat 5 cars that aren't any day of the week. As we see the 40 of Gregory Barmanier kind of fall off a little bit, but as soon as he does, he's back to the rear bumper of that 28. I think you will see them at least hold serve with the outside, maintaining that really close gap that they've had.
Welcome to the fun. Less than 20 laps to go. We've already made our final pit stop of the night. It is all about racing it to the end. You don't need to worry about pit road, but you do got to make sure that you make it to the end of this race. And a few drivers have already used their fast repairs. Their safety nets are gone. That being Jesse Nowlin as well as Barmanier. Those drivers have used their fast repairs. They're stuck with what they have underneath them at this moment. Everyone else still has a fast repair to work with. They can race a little bit more aggressively if they want to make some big passes, but as these laps continue to tick away, I mean, Danny, even if you have a fast repair this late in the race, you still want to make sure you're there at least in the final couple of laps.
Yeah, fast repair or not, you got to be working to win this thing now. I mean, in my opinion, even with about 11 cars in this front group, you don't have enough time to really set up a good run unless you're doing it this lap. You know, a lot can change in a hurry, but you got to be working to put yourself in the best place you can for when that white flag comes out. And Matt Hayden has done a fantastic job of that up to this point. He's got himself back up to at least the front row, and he's working to bring this thing home and put it in victory lane right now.
10 drivers are still in this lead pack. As the shuffling, as we were on that crank it up, we lost Steve Potter, Hunter Carlson, and Michael Martino. All have lost some part of the draft during that segment, and now we're down to those 10 drivers in the lead pack. Also, another driver that used a fast repair in this lead group is John Velocity, who's the last driver in line in the green and black. Everyone else that's up front, they know they've got a shot. But for Hunter, it's going to be for Hayden, I don't know if there's really any position here to make a pass unless we see lap cars maybe play a factor here or more drivers are willing to drop down low. But it doesn't look like anyone's really willing to go to that position just yet. Everyone's still staying in line. Maybe 15 laps to go and they cross the line now. And again, lap traffic will play a factor. We're going to have at least 2 drivers get caught before this race is over. As a little bit more shimmying, a little bit of contact, that inside lane dissipates, and it's now the outside row taking off the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, we had some pretty good contact on that inside there between the 28 and I'm not sure who the other car was, but that was very nearly a wreck. As we see the 38 of James Catrone looking to the inside of the 6 of Rusty Modesty. He wants that lead. He's making his move. He sees his shot. It's like, okay, there's nobody under me. This is my chance to start leading this inside, but he's going to drop back outside possibly of the top 5 here.
And he falls back, though, to Matt Hayden, and we'll see if Hayden and also Catrone can work as one to go forward. Would anyone else be willing to work with those 2? I think that's a more trusting duo if you're going to fall down and hope that you push forward. Will anyone else go down? That's who exactly I thought I was going to see. It's going to be Collette, Malarkey. They drop down low. They destroy that outside lane. They lose all momentum and speed, and now it's going to be Justin Malarkey side by side for second place. But Kevin Z leading the outside lane still has control and able to get a huge push. It's now going to come down to your 3 drivers leading your lane. Who's willing to give a push? Who's willing to stay closer connected as these laps continue to tick away? Going to be 12 to go when we cross the line. But Catrone needs to get closer to Colette because all the drivers that they had assistance with, they moved high once again.
Yeah, don't rule out that inside line, though. They had a good head of steam there. I think as long as they can keep it within 1 or 2 car lengths of that leader, they've got a shot at this. If they can work that air, maybe use that side draft to their advantage, and we're seeing them actually pull ahead a little bit down the straightaway here, but it looks like that outside is going to carry that momentum down the straightaway into 3, and they're going to pull out ahead once again.
Maybe a little bit of practice. Keep it close, if possible, as Justin Malarkey, Colette, the drivers that won the stage all the way back on lap 45 with perfect pit stops, not taking tires, and it was the timing of seeing drivers fail at pit road. This go around, if you're going to win this race, you got to do it on raw pace. You got to hope you got one other driver tagging with you to get to the front as quickly as possible as they continue to stay stalled out, battling for second position. It's Kevin Z still leading on that outside groove. And Danny, you kind of brought it up earlier in the broadcast, the fact that this racing style, pretty close to what we saw in the Xfinity race. The leader has so much control and power. It's really on everyone else behind the 17 on if they're going to gift him the lead or if they're going to cause him chaos before this thing's over with 10 laps to go.
Well, I tell you what, even if they clear again, I don't see the 6 of Rusty Modesty just giving him this thing. I believe if he gets clear at some point, let's say in the last 5 laps or even within 10 to go at any point here, I think we see him duck down to the inside and try and log jam that outside and kind of carry momentum to that lead position. So I think that's a very real possibility. If I'm the 6, I don't want to just push somebody else to the win. I want to be doing everything in my power to put myself in that best spot. But for the moment, we've got Justin Malarkey leading this race from the inside. I don't know if they lost momentum up there or what exactly happened, but we've got somebody else leading this race now, Sam.
And it's going to be Michael Martino dropping down to the apron, letting this lead pack go. So that's 1 lap car down. There's going to be another one of Hunter Carlson ahead of them that they will catch up before this race is over. But you back off, you group up, and you get a massive surge. There's the pass on the outside to lead that lap. And might have been a little bit of playing, a little bit of practicing this late in the race of what type of run would you need if you fell back to make the pass coming out of turn 4. And Kevin Z now has the timing perfect. If they're gonna make a late surge, even if the inside row has the lead off the exit turn 2, they know the move that they need to make to win this race.
Yeah, just being that car on the outside, you're going to carry so much more momentum off the corner. Even in a situation where both lanes are flat foot, you're all in on the gas. The outside's always going to carry a little bit more momentum just because they're running the higher speeds. So I think the 17 knows that. I think the 6 knows that. And as long as they stay hooked up on that outside, I believe you will see them with the advantage off most every corner. But as I say that, we see the 73 of Justin Malarkey being pushed by the 10 of Roland Collette. They actually nose ahead of that outside line here.
They nose ahead, but this is similar to what we saw just 2 laps ago. And then they said the 17 get the huge surge, but that next lap, it looks like for Rusty Modesty, backing off, saving a little bit of that engine temp, which is going to be so crucial in these final 3 to 2 laps as Hunter Carlson is being caught by our leaders. They're 2 by 2, and for Hunter Carlson, he still stays out on track, not ducking low to the apron. Will he duck low off the exit of turn 4 is going to be the question, or does he stay on course and force this field to get a little bit more squeezed? It looks like for the 32, he stays on track. Colette gets wiggled. Colette as well going to be getting in the mix. They're going to be side by side. This kills all the inside momentum. Carlson stays on course. We're going to be 3 wide for a quick moment, and they're going to be squeeze tapping, pinballing happening in the back, and just like in a moment, it goes from complete control to madness in the back half of the field. It's all Kevin Z. We're coming to 4 laps to go. It's Kevin Z, Modesty, and Little pulling away from Malarkey.
Yeah, that I think you just seen the pack kind of try and preemptively react to that lap car they were approaching there, and it just kind of ended up hurting everybody except your front 3. But just like that, though, the 73's back to the inside of the 68 and the 6. He's looking to make something happen off the corner here. Actually, we got the 17 of Kevin Zabadil trying to... Oh, he's trying to control both the planes. This is getting exciting, Sam.
Little bit of hitting and rubbing against one another. Kevin Z, Modesty going to be trying to make the move on the outside, but it's Justin Malarkey, 73. He would lead that lap, but just by thousandths of a second. These drivers know it is crunch time, it is go time, it is down to this. Who is going to win at Atlanta with 3 laps to go? And we're right back to the duel we just saw 2 laps ago. It's Malarkey, it's Kevin. Who will have the better run and push at the end of this race? And really it comes down to that second driver in line. Does Modesty or Colette have the speed in the window to keep their driver moving forward? But Roland doesn't get the run, kills all the momentum. They have to resurge again. A slight contact to the outside wall for Andrew Little. But here we go, Danny, 2 laps to go now, a lap and a half for the field here tonight.
If I'm in the 6th, this is where you have to make your move. You've got nobody to your inside. You've got to do something here. And if he's not going to the 68 of Andrew Little will, he's going to the inside. He wants to win this race, followed by the 84 of John Velocity.
It is all this. Can you get the contact? We're making it to the white flag. It's Kevin Z trying to work on the outside row. He's got Modesty as well. And Velocity going to be on that second driver on the inside. Just not able to get to Little's back bumper. Instead, it's going to be Seen Zabladil. Huge run on the outside. Rusty Modesty still pushing him. Velocity gets pushed down to the apron. They might be scattering coming off the exit of turn 3. But up front, it's just the dynamic duo. No one's catching up to Kevin up front. One last surge to the inside is not going to be the move. It's the 17. Kevin Z wins here in Atlanta.
He done a phenomenal job leading both lines and controlling those lanes there, Sam. I mean, that was really, he done a fantastic job. I don't know if you saw him off for 2 a couple times there. He went down, he gave that inside a little bit of a surge, trying to keep them alongside. That way he could control the runs. That was just a masterclass about 17 there on controlling those lanes.
Zabladil just got himself in a position to not give up at the end. And after so many strong races and having to leave early, tonight positions himself to get the help from Rusty Modesty, and the 17 will burn it down here tonight. Congratulations to the 17 of Kevin Z, as he will enjoy this burnout. For us of the booth, we will step away. When we come back, we'll talk to our top 3, Kevin Zabladil, Rusty Modesty, and Matt Hayden, on their thoughts on tonight's race. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the Challenger Racing League. Race number 5 is in the books as Atlanta Under the Lights gave us a show. So get to see a first-time winner this season. It's Kevin Zabladil. Let's go see if we can talk to Kevin in Victory Lane, get his thoughts on tonight. Kevin, it's Sam and Danny up in the booth. Congratulations on this win. I know you've shown strength these last few weeks, but man, how does it feel to finally take this victory?
Man, this is awesome. I know there's not a huge car count here, but everybody that's in this league is top notch. And even a track like this, that's a lot more about the drafting and positioning the car, man. It's freaking awesome to win with a group of guys like this.
Yeah, you definitely done a great job out there tonight. I noticed you controlling those lanes a lot. What's kind of like going through your head in the closing laps there? Like, what moves are you planning to make to try and keep both of those lanes behind you when you see the inside kind of getting those surges of momentum?
It's a lot of like trying not to leave your teammate out to dry, but also not just screwing you guys both at the same time. So, I was trying to kind of play that, like get down and block the inside at times, especially there at the end when Rusty was behind me, like get down, kind of try to kill their momentum without just dumping Rusty out to dry completely. So, a lot of things going on and really just kind of more reactionary than anything. And then just the runs that you get with this track, with it being so small with this speedway package, you get these huge runs and then you go into the corner and you just get a handful of wheel. And it's definitely a lot more fun than like a Talladega where it's just foot to the floor and pray. There's a little bit of positioning that you got to do at this place.
And positioning, you place yourself perfectly there, Kevin, up front, leading the charge. We've got 2 more races left in the regular season. Watkins Glen, Bristol. How are you feeling about these upcoming races that are on the schedule?
Watkins Glen's always going to be fun. I love a good road course race. Not terribly great with road courses and stock cars, but it'll still be fun. Bristol's my jam, so I'm ready for that.
Well, we cannot wait to see how you're going to perform these upcoming weeks, Kevin. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
You guys, obviously, Freaky Fast is one of the best in the business, and that's why we specifically sought you guys out when we started up this league. And then just everybody who's come on board with Challenger and kind of starting this up on short notice. It's been great. And like I say, just a great group of guys, great turnout. And then I got to thank Rusty for pushing me tonight, and I got to give a shout out to John Velocity. Kind of got taken out in a mess that was just a big checkup, kind of a racing deal, and kind of a similar thing with Greg earlier on in the race. So sorry to those 2 guys. We'll handle that on Discord later on. But yeah, great night.
A great night. Congratulations, Kevin, on this win. Enjoy it, and good luck in these upcoming races.
Thanks.
As that will be your winner here this evening in Victory Lane with Kevin Zabladil. We'll move down to second place to a driver that's was helping him get into Victory Lane. We got the 6 machine of Rusty Modesty with us. Rusty, it's Sam and Danny up in the booth. What a run for yourself here tonight. Man, how are you feeling after tonight's race in helping the 17 get into Victory Lane?
Oh man, after the way this evening went and getting into the session very late because I had to work late, didn't get any practice really. Missing the start because I was letting my dog out because again it was all late. I couldn't have asked for anything better. I think pushing the 17 was really the only option. I tried to stick my nose out a little bit and drop back to get some kind of run. Man, and immediately the RPMs just dropped, and I didn't have any help behind me, so just kind of impossible to make a move at that point. So,
Yeah, you were definitely pushing the 17 a lot there. I was kind of wondering if you were going to kind of jump out and make that move on him. Being teammates, obviously that puts you in an awkward spot, but was that thought there in the closing laps, like how I can win this race for myself, or is it just, kind of playing the team game and trying to put both of you in the best spot possible?
Oh, no, it's 1v1 at that point. If I could have made a move, I would have. And he knows he would do the same. So, no, I think we did great. And I didn't plan on making any kind of major moves until, late in that in the run. But you probably saw him bouncing back and forth a lot. I'm sure he'll speak on that. But just trying to protect the the lead, really, and just try to keep everyone up there all together, so we can have that one-on-one battle at the end, right? So no, congrats to Kevin. Ran a darn good race, and congrats to Matt for squeaking in a third, because I know he made some strong moves there on the last lap to make that happen.
Well, I know, Rusty, with the fact that Christian was not able to connect with tonight's race, this kind of puts you in a position to feel good in points, as I know a couple of drivers were needing good points days. How do you feel like, though, this race, in the upcoming races, what are you hoping to gain before the playoffs here in just a few races?
I think we have some fun ones coming up. Some tracks I think a lot of people enjoy. Typically you see oval leagues and they hate road courses. Man, we embrace them. There's a lot of people in this crew that really, really enjoy road racing. So you're going to see probably some of the best racing at Watkins Glen and the Roval, in stock cars that you'll see anywhere. So I think we have specific tracks that play to people's specific talents. It's going to be pretty interesting as we go through the playoffs this year.
Well, it certainly makes the rest of the season exciting to watch. Rusty, again, congratulations on second. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
Yeah, hey, shout out to everyone that shows up week in and week out to help make this thing possible. All the members, all the admins. You guys at Freaky Fast always putting on a great product. So thanks to all the family and friends at home that watch, and hopefully Atlanta put on a good show for everyone today.
It certainly was a fun one for us to call. Rusty, congratulations once again with finishing second, and good luck next week at the Glen.
Thanks, guys.
As we move from second place, we go down to third, to a driver that showed very strong strength early on, snuck his way forward there late. We got Matt Hayden with us. Matt, it's Sam and Danny up in the booth. Congratulations on a top 3 run. At moments, we thought maybe you would have the speed to steal it at the end, but coming up just third. How are you feeling, though, overall with tonight's performance?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I was kind of disappointed because I think if we could have stayed together a little better on the bottom, and not fallen back with, like, I don't know what it was, about 10 to go, I think we would have had a better shot. But bottom line kind of fell apart, and we fell back, and then we were stuck, and I had Jesse helping behind me, and I told him, I said, "You ready to do some sketchy stuff?" And he told me he was going to follow me wherever I went. So I waited that last lap, and I was trying to stick it 3 wide, and we all just kind of got wadded up. And I blinked. I think I was maybe in 6th place when I started to blink, and when I opened my eyes back up, we were in 3rd. So worked out in the end, I guess.
Now, Matt, you definitely done a fantastic job working your way back up there. It's like you'd fell back, after you had that incident earlier in the race. Then we kind of blink within about 15 to go, and you're making moves, getting back up toward the front there. Is there anything you feel you could have done different to try and put yourself in that spot to win that race, or is it just kind of a victim of circumstance there?
No, it was kind of my plan, because it was kind of that last pit. I think there may have been someone else that took tires, but I think I was one of the only ones to take tires. I don't know that they made that much of a difference, but I knew it was going to get kind of dicey, and depending on how our pace was going to pick up, we were kind of in fuel conservation mode, running to stage, and that was kind of my deal earlier. Was this ran out front, and then the lap difference between where I was at leading and the guys behind me was pretty substantial. I didn't think they were going to make it, but also didn't want to pit by myself, so tried to get back to the back, and then I wasn't sure how pit was going to go with us coming off of 4, so I kind of got to where I just wanted to run in the back and let things kind of play out. And really, I thought that before we had that caution, we were going to be coming up within the window for green flag stops, and I would have rather entered in and been with a bigger pack of cars, because that didn't really work out for the stage points earlier. So I knew I was going to have to come from a little bit further back. I just didn't think I'd get wadded up and stuck behind the group with 5 to go. So
I mean, still a good day. And even when we look at the points, a solid day for yourself, Matt, on the fact that we got 2 more races before the playoffs. What is the confidence level with these final 2 races heading to Watkins Glen and Bristol?
I feel all right with Watkins Glen. I know some other people. may feel a little different me going into one. I had a pretty big shunt in another league with some of these guys. So, but outside of that, I feel like I run really well at Watkins Glen. Although there's some other guys here that'll run really well. You're gonna have Zab, Rusty, Catrone, Little. I'm sure Malarkey. He seems like he's strong at a variety of tracks and stuff like that. So I think we've got a lot of cars that should be pretty good there. So like I said, I feel good about it. I just know the competition will be tough. And then Bristol to finish things off is it's going to be a crapshoot. So we'll just have to run hard and see if we make it in, and then really concentrate on the next set of races.
Well, Matt, an excellent run here tonight, getting a top 3 finish. Enjoy it. And before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
Yeah, just want to thank everybody in the league, Challenger. We had, for a while, I was proud, we had the old Zab Motorsports nose to tail with Zab and Rusty and Catrone and me all tucked in together at a draft track like old times. Congrats to Zab. When he got up front, I knew it was going to be tough. We had a moment where we kind of diced it up, and that was more of a little playful toss-up. I knew he was going to try to block me, so didn't want to do anything stupid, but also wanted to make it a little entertaining, so we diced it up a little bit. But I appreciate you guys for coming out and broadcasting and putting on a good show for us, and thank everybody out there for watching.
Well, it helps when you guys give us entertainment to cover like you did here tonight. Congratulations on a top 3 finish, Matt. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at the Glen.
Thank you, guys.
As we move from our interviews, we move on over to look at our unofficial results here tonight. 125 laps, only one green flag pit cycle we got to see, and it was chaotic in the middle of the stage. We got to see Roland Collette get that stage win, but ultimately at the end of the day, it went to the 17 of Kevin Zabladil, going to be taking himself into victory lane with the help of Rusty Modesty. Matt Hayden almost was able to take it there late, but with James Catrone, Andrew Little, they all had their little moments of madness there late. Jesse Nowlin was able to move away into 6th place with Justin Malarkey, who thought he had a chance to fight for the win, goes from battling for the lead all the way down to 7th place. Also got to see Greg Barbanier up to 8th place. 9th was Roland Collette, our stage winner, and John Velocity was able to finish out in 10th place. But Danny, certainly a lot of other drivers that maybe hope for better days, but who are some of the drivers you noticed that had a pretty good day or bad day from your point of view?
Well, I think John Velocity definitely deserved better. I know he didn't take his fast repair under that one caution after he got caught up in that incident off the 4, I guess hindsight, I would have tried not to take it either, but hindsight, maybe you should have had that car 100% to go try and fight for a win there. He definitely done all he could, but I still, seeing him toward the front, I feel like he deserved a better day than what he got.
Certainly would have preferred that if possible, but it's all right. We got a couple more races left before the season is over, but unfortunately, like I noted on earlier on the broadcast, we will not be able to cover next week's race at Watkins Glen. We will be back in 2 weeks for Bristol for the regular season finale, where it's going to be a fun one. The last great Coliseum, 200 laps. Who's in, who's out? It's our favorite time of the season. It's when we get close to the playoffs. Cannot wait for it, but for tonight, before we call it a conclusion and get out of here, I know we got plenty of great racing action throughout the week. Tomorrow night, you don't want to miss it. We got the WSSR Cup Series, their final race of the round of 11. Who will be part of the Championship 6 that will fight for that Season 9 championship? You don't want to miss it. Richmond's going to be a good one of all the drama and how close the points are. It is a don't miss show tomorrow night. And then on Thursday, continuing on with the beginning of the season, it's the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series with their open setups in the next gens. Don't want to miss that. And then next Monday, we're back with the ISRC Truck Series, a full schedule we've had for ourselves. But again, next week is off. And for us here at the booth, for the drivers, stay on at the Glen. But before we call it an evening, I want to hand it over to Danny. Danny, you did a great job on your debut night with us here on Freaky Fast. But it's our final call. So what are some of your final thoughts in the evening, or just final things you want to say before we call it a conclusion?
I just want to thank y'all for having me, man. It's been a blast up here calling this race with you guys. Big shout out to all the drivers for putting on the awesome show to call here. Congratulations to Kevin Zabladil, Rusty Modesty, and Matt Hayden on their podium finishes. They certainly were probably the 3 most fun cars to watch out there with the moves they were making. But with that, I want to thank everybody for watching and wish everybody a good night.
Well, thank you, Danny, for coming in and filling in for Trevor. Trevor should be back in 2 weeks for our regular season finale. But again, you did a great job, Danny. It was a pleasure to have you in the booth for tonight. But for this evening on your Tuesday night, I want to say thank you for myself, Sam Dyer, for Danny Cochran, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else for Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you for joining with us on your Tuesday night, getting to watch the Challenger Racing League. Race 5 is in the books. Congratulations to Kevin Zabladil, grabbing his first win this season, and now part of the history book of the Challenger Racing League. Cannot wait when we come back in 2 weeks for Bristol. It's going to be a fun one. But if you cannot wait for racing action, who's in, who's out? Tomorrow night, short track racing at Richmond. It's the WSSR Cup Series. You don't want to miss it. Who will be the final 6 drivers to race for a championship and hoist the championship for season 9? Well, it's all going to be down tomorrow night. Cannot wait for it. That'll be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.